So you pick your child up at school or camp and you get home and then this happens. Have you heard of this? The after school collapse?
Part series. First, what is after school collapse? It's where littles spend all day at school and get overstimulated. But it's not just a matter of, oh, they're overstimulated. It is a mental, emotional overwhelm where they've been
So that
struggling
is
so
parenting
hard throughout
expert
the day.
Vivian Meraki, who has gone viral for her TikTok series educating parents and caregivers about neurodivergent children and how to support them after diagnosis. Vivian is joining us this morning to tell us more about it. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, so what is the difference between a child who, gets home from school or, in these months gets home from camp and who has all this energy to give and to put somewhere, and then a child who's really experiencing something a bit different?
Yeah, so I think the main thing around after school collapse is that it's not just a regular tantrum. And it can look different depending on the child. So what can look like is it can look like a complete meltdown. It can look like outbursts and saying, what parents have described to me as mean things, swearing, for example, if it's an older child. But it can also look like shutdown, where they collapse, they go to sleep, lie down, and they don't seem to be doing anything. So it takes different forms. But I think the unifying thread across all of it is that they've been masking or doing their best all day to be on, and they're overwhelmed, and their mental and emotional capacities have been spent, and they come home, and it's a safe space for them.
Yeah.
And then they release.
So, if you are a parent watching right now or a caregiver, what are some of the signs that indicate a child might be neurodivergent?
So neurodivergent children are processing the world differently. They're seeing things through different eyes and their brains functions differently. There's a whole spectrum. It's quite complicated and nuanced, but in particular with ADHD in particular, there's three major types of ADHD. With the first type, predominantly inattentive, is often something that goes unnoticed because it's quiet. It looks like forgetting. It looks like it might be daydreaming or drifting, where you think they're paying attention, but they might not be. They're not really fully with you, or maybe difficulty following instructions. It can also look like in hyperactive, which is the most common one that we think about, a lot of energy, having a hard time sitting down, talking a lot, interrupting, or a combination of the two. And in a lot of the other ones, it's around relating. So with the larger spectrum of neurodivergence, how they're relating, how they're picking up on signals, how they're interacting, and ultimately how they're functioning in the way that their brain works best.
If you suspect you see some of the signs here and you want to go get testing done for your child, getting a diagnosis for ADHD or autism, I mean, it can take up to a year, if not more, in the public system. There is an option for going in the private system. What's the difference between the two, or is it just a time frame?
Yeah, so I would say that right now, the unfortunate reality is that there's been a doctor shortage for a number of years. And so that's been leading to longer wait times. And the main difference, I would say, is in the public sector, you have those longer wait times of 6 months or upwards, even 2 years.
Wow.
But then in the private sector, there's less wait time, usually weeks to months. But then there is the cost associated with it.
How much is it?
So it could be anywhere from $400 upwards of, I've seen even over $5,000 for a full psychoeducational assessment. And the thing I think for parents to know is there's two ways for an assessment. So one is a medical diagnosis. So that's through your doctor, psychiatrist, et cetera. And then you also have the psychological assessment. And so that might be more of the psychoeducational analysis, psychologist, that kind of thing. And right now the landscape is changing. There's a lot of new players entering the field, a lot of options and opportunities. And ultimately, I think for parents to choose what's best for their circumstances. Is it a complex case? Because if it's a complex case, maybe you do want the in-person care versus a virtual care, for example. What is the financial situation? Do you have coverage? How long can you wait? Does it feel urgent? But I would say that no matter what, emotional safety is the bedrock for any child, regardless of their neurotypical or neurodivergent, but especially if they're neurodivergent.
So what can a parent or caregiver do to support their child?
I think the main thing is a shift in mindset from fixing to understanding and curiosity, establishing a foundation where your child doesn't feel like they're broken or there's something wrong with them, but rather it's about your brain. Your brain works differently, and that can look like helping them and supporting them with different tools, adjusting their routine so that they're not as overwhelmed. It can look like giving them visual aids or activity or movement breaks, things like that, or fidget items. So yeah, it can look like a lot of different things, even advocating to the school for accommodation as well.
And yeah, to work as a team
That's
in
right.
tandem with. It can be scary to receive a diagnosis of ADHD or autism. There is still stigma attached to those diagnoses. So, what can parents and caregivers do to come to that place of acceptance?
There can be really big emotions, certainly. For some parents, it looks like relief. For some parents, it looks like overwhelm, especially because of the stigma. And I think at the heart of it, it is the narrative that we're telling ourselves and our children. At the heart of it, they're not broken. There's nothing wrong. Their brain works differently. And I think one of the best analogies I've ever heard was actually, we don't look at our children who need glasses and think there's something wrong and we judge them for it. Instead, we get them glasses to help them see better.
Oh, I love
And
that.
in these circumstances with neurodivergence, it's the same. We need to give them tools to help their brain process things and operate to their highest capacity because there's so much capacity.
Yeah.
Neurodivergent kids are so special and unique, and they have special gifts and strengths to bring to the world that neurotypical can't bring.
And after you get this assessment done, then you've got a plan, you've got a
Yes.
structure that can help everybody move forward.
Exactly.
We have to move forward, Vivian, but that was fantastic. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.